Before the awards.
This is b4nashville Live. Have a question for our guest? Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
And welcome to Before Nashville, where we introduce the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. And tonight, I've got a young man from Texas. And if you check him out online, and once we get started, you'll see a lot of his music. It's kind of got that good Texas feel to it, which is some great music. So be sure to check him out once we get started. And we're going to do that in 30 seconds.
Before Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Sibby's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at sibbysapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
All right, so we are ready to take off with the show, and joining me tonight, like I said, it's a young guy from Texas. He's got some fantastic music out there. You need to go check it out. His name is Wynn Williams, so let's welcome him to the show. Wynn, how you doing there, buddy?
I'm good. How about you, George?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's a joy to have you on tonight. I've been checking out your music and giving it some listen, and by golly, it's pretty doggone good.
Well, I appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out a while back and getting it all set up. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. So I do want to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Wynn, feel free to share those. You can do that in Messenger, and we'll be sure to get that taken care of. I've got my cousin Mike chiming in already. So got to say hi to him. He's in Arizona, I think. He changes. I can't keep up with him. He moves around a lot. You'd think he was in the music biz. So let's just talk a little bit about when in the early days, you know, growing up and going to school, kind of things you did, if you were into sports and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I played sports all the way into high school. I played a lot of baseball and played football, of course, whenever I got to middle school and high school. And then I started rodeoing whenever I was in high school. I guess I would have been a freshman. I started learning how to be a steer wrestler, a bulldogger. So I picked that up, and I guess I quit football and baseball my sophomore year of high school to go full-time rodeo. And during that time, I was also really active in choir. I was in choir for 4 years in my high school years. And then I actually went to Weatherford College. I grew up in Weatherford, Texas. Okay. I went to Weatherford College for 2 years on a rodeo scholarship. And then in 2014, I got my associate's degree at Weatherford. And then I transferred to Texas A&M, where I rodeoed for a semester. And then I, just finished out school. And then upon graduation, I kind of just went right into music full time.
Wow. So the rodeo stuff intrigues me. I love rodeos, and you don't see much of the bulldoggers anymore for whatever reason. I mean, we have a big rodeo around us. It's a 4-day deal, and one of the biggest in the Midwest, and we love going every year. And they do a lot of great events there. But what got you into music? I mean, how did you get into that? You said you were in choir. What led up to that? And
man, as a young kid, I mean, I was always interested in music, and I always sang, from whenever I was just a little bitty. My grandfather was a musician as well. He had his own band. And I actually never got to meet him. He died in an accident before I was born. But, it's just always something that was part of me and part of my life. And my dad plays guitar. My dad sings. My mom sings. My sister sings. So it's just something that it just came very natural.
Mhm.
And then, of course, as I got older, I was listening to, your top 40 country and even like pop and stuff like that. And then as I
Right.
got into high school, I was kind of exposed to, more stuff like Sinatra and Michael Bublé and, some of the big band stuff. So I had a really wide range of, musical, uh, I wouldn't say knowledge, but exposure. So, I had a lot of different styles that I was exposed to, and in choir, I was also kind of not really trained like the classical style, but it was just part of it. We sang kind of real choral stuff, like we sang some like Latin stuff and stuff in German or French or whatever. So
Okay.
I don't know how to speak any of those languages, but we sang some of that stuff. So then I guess it was my sophomore year of high school that I decided I was going to do the talent show. So I sang a Josh Turner song, and I was a huge Josh Turner fan, and I still am. But sang "Why Don't We Just Dance" by Josh Turner at my
Mhm.
talent show in high school, and that was really like my first taste of being on stage as a solo act. Um, and I was just singing to a karaoke track at that point. I hadn't learned how to play guitar or anything like that. So um, I did that, and I just kind of fell in love with that feeling of being on stage and performing. So um, I then went on to do that every year after that. So my junior year and senior year, and then my senior year, I was also I auditioned for our school musical, uh, which was a lot of fun. We did Grease, and I got the lead role. I was Danny. Um,
Ah,
so I don't know. It just felt very natural for me to perform and to sing. And then it really wasn't until college that I started to expand on that a little bit and learned how to play guitar and started writing songs. And then I think in my senior year in college, I started to play around in this little bar we used to hang out in College Station called The Tap. And that's kind of where I got my start. And then, time went on, and I was booking shows in Houston, and I was booking shows up in Fort Worth. And then it just slowly but surely grew. And all that time I was just, soaking in every bit of business and, every aspect of what it is to be an artist these days and run a
absolutely.
business. So, it was, I don't know, it just, everything felt natural to this day. Everything feels natural. Um, it's something that I love to do. And
Right.
the fact that I get to do it for a career is even more special.
Right. So what are the inspirations or the influences that you had musically?
So I grew up, like I said, on kind of top 40 country. So, George Strait, Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn. And then I was also exposed to older stuff like, for one, John Denver. He was kind of like my first, I guess, one of my first, in elementary school, I was listening to John Denver uh, in my grandma's car. And then, my dad listened to classic country. So, it would be like Jim Reeves and some Haggard and Glenn Campbell. I mean, I'm a big Glenn Campbell fan. So I think, you'll hear a lot of those influences in my music. And then the way I think the way that I enunciate and just kind of sing very clearly, I think that is kind of my choral background, if you will, to, really hone in on making sure everybody can understand what I'm saying. So,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I mean, you've grown up on, like you said, the classics. You've been there for a lot of the great music, and then George Strait. I mean, who doesn't love some King George? I mean, if you don't love King George, then you can't consider yourself country.
that's right.
Um, but with the inspirations that you had, did they influence your writing, or do you have other influences in the way that you write songs?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it influences my writing style. And I was just talking about this to my manager today and my producer as well. My producer tells me that I'm pretty fickle on what it is that I, want to say and what I write and what kind of songs I'm into. And I think that early influence of those songs from the 90s and the early 2000s where everything was just like, man, to me, that's like the prime era of country music.
Yeah, yeah.
When it really started to get popular. And we have Straight to thank for that. And we have Garth Brooks to thank for that. And, among so many other artists that had just song after song after song, and they were all brilliant. I mean, Dean
Yeah.
Dillon, look at Dean Dillon.
Oh my
He
gosh, yeah.
wrote, 30 or 40 of George's number one songs, and he's just a brilliant wordsmith. So whenever I listen to those kinds of songs, I'll think to myself, man, I want to write a song like that.
Mhm.
So I would definitely say that those early influences play a part in how I write songs,
Right.
and even the melodies too. The way we come
Oh
up with the
yeah.
melodies, they're kind of, they're not. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like simple is better. Less is more.
Mhm.
Um, and if that means you have three chords in the whole song, then that's what that means. You let the lyrics do the work and
Right.
tell the story and share the message. So
Right. And I'm really glad, and there was a quote on your bio that I want to look up real quick. It was kind of like the opening line, and I thought it was one of the best opening lines I'd ever heard in my life. Country music is more than just a cowboy hat and boots. I don't know who came up with that, whether that was you or somebody else, but that's kind of like the three chords and the truth thing right there. That
sure.
sums it up. And I think a lot of people need to understand, that's kind of the thing. Um, if there were, what is the one song that you have heard throughout that you just sit there and think, man, why could that not have been me that wrote that song?
The Chair by Dean Dillon.
Mm,
I just think
absolutely.
it's so brilliant. I mean, the pickup line. I
Yep.
mean, who would have thought? Well, excuse me, but I think you've got my chair.
Yep.
Man, that's
It
brilliant. To
makes
me, that's
yeah,
brilliant.
it makes you want to go to a bar and try it just to see if it works.
Right. Yeah. And then at the end, he's like, "Yeah, I like you too, but to tell you the truth, that wasn't my chair after all." It's just a
Yeah.
pickup line, man,
Yeah,
and it's just so perfect. I love that song.
it is. It's a fantastic song. One of my all-time favorites, I gotta admit. Um, so tell me one thing about your music that you feel like is unique that would make people want to listen to you.
Well, I think it's just for one, it's real. I'm not, I'm not really singing about tailgates or, throwing hay or anything. I've done all that kind of stuff. I used
Right.
to I used to bale hay in high school. I'm not trying to fake it. I think it's just very real stuff that I've been exposed to. Um, but I would say that the main thing would be it it has an element of nostalgia to it that
Mhm.
a lot of people are missing these days in the current climate that is country music. Um, you know, the influences that I grew up, listening to, uh, they just play a major role in in that music, instrumentation and production and lyrical. It's all reminiscent of that golden era of country music. So, and I think there's a huge demand for that. And there has been a demand for that for quite some time. And fortunately, with, guys like John Party and
Mhm.
Cody Johnson and now Randall King, um,
Right.
I think we're starting to get back into that side of country music that's been missing for so long. So I'm really optimistic and really fortunate to be in a position to offer that kind of music because I think we're right on the edge of coming back around to it.
And I appreciate that you are one of these, and I'm just cutting edge guys that's what you're doing because you're right. Music has been lacking, and it is starting to go back to more of the traditional, steel guitars and fiddles and that kind of thing, and just the true songs that you can follow the story in.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree wholeheartedly.
And so I'm super excited about that. I'm really excited to play your new single. We're going to get to that here in just a bit. So stand strong, folks. We're going to get to that. Um, I mean, I was kind of looking. I was looking at your website earlier, and I check out everything just to kind of see how things are. And I was looking at your tour schedule. A lot of stuff in Texas. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the epicenter of where you're at. Do you get out beyond that very much?
Yeah, we've been really lucky to break into Oklahoma and Kansas, and we've played Chicago before, Vegas during the rodeo.
Mhm.
Let's see, we haven't quite cracked into Louisiana just yet, or kind of like the lower SEC states, I would call
Right.
them. But yeah, we get around this region quite a bit, and obviously more so in Texas than Oklahoma and Kansas. But um, it's something that I'm working towards. It's certainly a goal of mine to kind of expand this region, and then also get up into the Midwest some more and start to play, the Iowa spots,
Right.
and come back to Chicago and play up there. I mean, it's amazing the country music love that comes from up that direction. We actually played
Right.
Chicago in January of 2020 before all this mess happened, and
Right.
we had people drive down from Wisconsin and drive in from 3 or 4 hours away to come see us play. And that's
Wow.
as a young artist who's just starting to get their name out there, it's very encouraging whenever you have people that will travel a good distance to come see you play.
Absolutely. I mean, and then it makes you realize that you're doing something right because you have that kind of a crowd and those kind of people coming in from all over.
Exactly right.
Now, uh, with that, what would you say is your favorite venue to play that you've been in?
Oh man, I get this question all the time. Uh, and you know, it's hard to choose one favorite venue, but I would say my top two that we play on a consistent basis would be John T. Floor's Country Store in Helotes, Texas, which is down near San Antonio. And then there's a place up here in Arlington called Texas Live. Um,
Mhm.
and both of these venues are complete polar opposites from one another. I mean, one is an old Texas dance hall that's been around for a very long time. And then the other one is a, modern state of the art right next to Texas, the Rangers ballpark
Oh,
in
wow.
Arlington. I mean, they're two totally different venues, but no matter when we're there, there's always great crowds. And the staff and the way that we're treated at those venues is just first class every single time. So,
Wow.
whenever you have somebody who treats you really well, it's easy for that to become a favorite.
Mhm.
So I would say
Absolutely.
those are my favorite two that we play on a consistent basis. I would say that playing the Hard Rock in Vegas was pretty dang cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Um, what is I'm gonna put you on the spot here. What's your most embarrassing stage moment?
oh man. I can't even count on two hands how many embarrassing stage moments I have. I mean, a
You're
nightly
not one of those Kobe
basis.
Bryant type of guys, are you?
It's no, I get kind of goofy up there, and my mind starts going, and I'm just trying to talk, or my mouth starts going faster than my brain can work.
Right.
So I'll just say something just goofy or off the wall, or maybe I'll forget some lyrics or something like that. But you know what? I'm human, so uh, that kind of stuff happens all the time. I think I played a show one time. It was very early on. I think I had my fly undone. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, right.
Uh, but fortunately, I really haven't had anything super embarrassing lately, aside from just, you know, talking without thinking or not getting my words right.
Right. What is now when you're up there singing and I mean everybody pretty much does cover songs. I mean, it's like a stable you have to have on your set list. What's your favorite cover song to play?
We actually just added a new few covers to our show, and
Mhm.
one that is a lot of fun to play, which it might be the band's favorite, is "Wrapped Around" by Brad Paisley. You remember that song?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun song to play. A lot of fun.
Oh
Brand
yeah.
New Man, honorable mention, Brand New Man by Brooks and Dunn. Everybody loves
Mhm.
that one, so it's always a nice sing along.
Yep. Yep. You can't go wrong with a little B and D, that's for sure. Um, if you could go back to your, let's just say your 18-year-old self, you're out of high school, you're going to college and doing that kind of thing, and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
Um, I'd probably say just to be patient, um, because a lot of I still struggle with patience. At this level. I mean, I've got a long way to go, but um, and I've had to learn how to be patient on a personal level. Um, but I think it would be, just to enjoy the ride, because
Mhm.
we get so caught up in trying to just get to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And though it's good to have a strategy in place and a plan in mind, and to have those goals, um, sometimes it's okay that it doesn't happen as fast as you want it to. And a lot of times it ends up being better, than if you were to rush things. And
Right.
I'm going through that right now. I mean, I've got a few songs that we're ready to put out, and I'm chomping at the bit. But we've got some stuff in the works behind the scenes on the management side that I
Good
think
to
are going to be really good things. It's just me, being an independent artist who's always done everything, by himself.
right.
I've never really had to answer to anybody. I've never been held up. Um, but I have a team for a reason, and I got to let the team, do the work that they know
Right.
how to do. So I'm putting a little more trust into the time, and just letting things take place when they're supposed to.
Right. That's great advice. I mean, that's one thing you have to look at. You have to be able to pull back from that and allow, especially when you have a team, and allow your team to take care of things.
Hmm.
Um, now if there was one artist who has passed, okay, that's no longer with us, that you could have dinner with, who would that be? And what would your first question be to them?
Well, it'd probably be my grandfather,
Okay.
who I never got to meet. I don't know what my first question would be. I don't think I've ever thought about this. Probably ask him how's heaven. But gosh, man, that's a tough question. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to give you an answer.
All right.
Maybe another time, because I've never really considered that.
Right. Right. And it's one of those thought provoking questions. It's one that,
Yeah, it's a great
kind of,
question.
you know, thank you. And we're right now, let's just take a short break because I want folks to hear this new song you've got out. It's the latest one you've released. And I'm telling you, folks, it's a great song. When popped on a while ago, I was actually watching the video on his website, and just the video is really good. What part of it I got to see, and the song itself is fantastic. So we're gonna give you a little taste of that and let you hear what it sounds like. And then if you want to find out more about him, we'll tell you here in a bit where you can find his music as well. So just stick with us, and we're gonna get into Wynn's latest single. It's called "Like the Wind," and that's coming up in 30 seconds.
B4 Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Civvy's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at civviesapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
This dry old West Texas town is just tumbleweeds and shades of brown and a closed down filling station. And then down the road I see that red Ford coming, those pretty blue eyes smiling, turning my whole world upside down as she rolls in like the wind. Like the air beneath an outbound plane, like a distant cloud of summer rain. She can take you higher than you've ever been. For a little while she's mine to hold, then she's gone and you never know when she's gonna roll back round again like the wind. Well, I know her wild and free is why I love that girl, but every time it kills me watching paradise slip through my hands. And when she's in my arms, I pray that I can make her stay. Believe me, I tried, ain't nothing strong enough to fence her in. Like the wind, like the air beneath an outbound plane, like a distant cloud of summer rain. She can take you higher than you've ever been. For a little while she's mine to hold, then she's gone and you never know when she's gonna roll back round again like the wind. Like the air beneath her outbound plane, like the feeling when she says my name. She takes me high. For a little while she's mine to hold, then she's gone and you never know when she's gonna roll back round again. I just know she's gonna roll back round again like the wind, like the wind.
B4 Nashville. I'm trying to get my camera back on here. There we go. I'm back now. I tell you, man, that song is so, to me, it's so reminiscent of, like you said, the 90s and 2000s country. It's just, it's like a breath of fresh air, honestly.
Well, thank you. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
2021 was kind of a big year for you. You had a lot going on that year. You released an album and just all kinds of things. I mean, you had a lot of good songs coming out. I Love Her for Leaving, Long Gone, songs like that are pretty special, and you need to listen to them if you get a chance for those watching. One of the things that's said in your bio that kind of intrigued me is no one's going to work harder for you than you. And that's a saying that you live by.
It is. Yeah. A very good friend of mine named John Michael Whitby, he plays piano for George Strait. And he manages another artist named Kyle Park down here in Texas. Yep. And he told me that one time. I must have been, I don't know, I must have been just getting started. And I was kind of asking him some questions and picking his brain on some stuff. And he told me that. And ever since then, it's been a part of me. It's been just part of, how I work and what I do. So yeah. And it's true. I mean, nothing's going to get done unless you go to work and do it. So it's the truth.
And I mean, there are so many artists that have that same philosophy, and a lot of them are from Texas, like Cody Johnson. I mean, Cody is just all about doing the job and doing it right, I guess is the best way to put it. Aaron Watson's the same way. Eli Young band. I mean, those guys are just amazing. Randy Rogers band. They all kind of have that same philosophy. If for one, if you're not going to do it, nobody else is. So you just work harder for yourself, just like you were told. What do you think is? I'm kind of looking at the difference here between Texas and Nashville right now. Music coming out of Texas is leaning more to that 90s and 2000s sound. And then, Nashville starting to slowly transgress into that very slowly from the pop music sound that's been out the last few years. What do you feel like is the major difference between the two?
Well, that's a bit of a tough question because I'm kind of new to the whole Nashville machine, if you will. I mean, I just got with my manager in 2019, or maybe it was, I think it was 2019. So I'm not super familiar with the way everything works up there, but I do know that I think to some degree, at least on the record label side, there's a bit of a formula that they all try to follow. And, I think look, there is no formula in what we do. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but based on, the kind of music that we're hearing and, who it is we're hearing and just a lot of stuff about it seems like it's very formulaic. And down here in Texas, it's not that way. And I'm not saying, one way is better than the other. But down in Texas, we're fortunate enough to have a market that we can go play in, and we can make a really good living doing it because there's just such a demand for good music. And, we're lucky to have the fans that are in the quote unquote Texas music scene.
Right.
Because they are very loyal. And it's something that came way before my time. And I mean, you could probably, to some degree say it's, Willie and Willie and Waylon and the boys, if you will.
Right. Right.
Um, and then it really started to become a bigger scene whenever like Pat Green really
Right.
started, and then Pat Green and Corey Morrow, and then uh, a lot of others before that I'm not even thinking of. And then as it just progressed, whenever I was growing up, it was Randy Rogers and it was Wade Bowen and
Hmm.
Stoney LaRue and Cross Canadian Ragweed and those guys. And there's differences in all of those guys, but they all worked for it. They all went to work.
Right.
Nobody's gonna work harder for you than you, and you see that in these guys, and that's why they're so successful as independent artists because they wake up and they go to work. Whereas not everybody has that same mentality. Um,
Right.
and like you said, it's something that is maybe a little bit more pronounced down here in Texas, but I don't know. I just feel like it's a thing. It's just this thing about the way we do things down here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody says Texans are really proud to be from Texas, and we are. I mean,
Right.
there's no denying that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just something about it. We all kind of, if you want something bad enough, you're gonna go get it.
Right.
And I think that as a Texas artist, I can say myself personally that I kind of live by that mantra of, you know, being a go-getter.
Right. Right.
And again,
And
there's no formula, and everything is so, especially nowadays with the way the internet is, everything's so accessible for an artist. I mean,
yeah.
we're looking at totally different times from, back in the 90s and 2000s whenever you got signed to a record deal, and hopefully you have something that works so that the record label will keep you,
Right.
and they'll keep promoting you. And it's just it's not that way anymore, and it's just it's a matter of putting yourself out there and trying to trying to achieve your goals and make your dreams come true.
Right. I think the Texas music scene honestly is built a lot on the traditions where Nashville's not as traditional. They want to, they want to try to change it up. They want to be a little different, that's why the pop, Kane Brown and you know, Brett Young and some of these other guys that are more the country pop,
Sure.
some of the ladies and stuff. And I feel like that the Texas music scene, which uh, to me, that is such a, um, I guess a misnomer because it should just be country music. I mean, I know Texans are proud and they want to own that, and I'm not bashing that at all. But I think that that's the true country music. I mean, you're going back to the sound of the days of like the '90s, the Alan Jacksons and the Pat Greens and those guys, and that was what was country music. And I'm old school, so that's kind of the thing, I like that, give me a Johnny Cash album and a bottle of bourbon and let me sit out by the bonfire and I'm in heaven, you know. And so that's kind of my thing. I mean, I just love the sound that those guys have, and I love the fact that it's coming back. I don't think it ever really went away. It just wasn't as prevalent. But with Cody Johnson and Aaron Watson, Randy Rogers, and the Wade Bowen and those guys coming out, they've kind of brought that back to where it's noticeable. A lot of people really, I mean, they have huge followings, you
Hmm.
know, because of their music, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely it's music driven down here. So
Mhm.
if you put out a good product, then people are going to eventually find you.
Right. And I've got some questions here. I like to do a little thing that it's kind of off the wall questions,
Okay.
you know. So I've got a little intro that I like to play for it just because it kind of leads into kind of the questions themselves. So we're going to get into that, all right?
All
And
right.
again, I've got Wynn Williams with me. Go check him out. You can see his website right there. You can go check out his music, his bio. You can check out his merch, all the whole 9 yards. And so go check him out. But don't do it until after we get done with the interview. Whatever you do, don't leave. Stay right there. And we're going to get into it's actually one of my favorite segments. So we'll get into that.
What the hell? What the hell? The hell? The hell? What the hell? What the hell?
I'm sure you've already figured out what I call this.
Yes. I like it. I like it.
And it's just because of the questions, because they kind of make you go, what the hell is he asking?
Uh-huh.
Why is he asking that? So the first one we're going to start off with, and some of them are that way, and some of them are a little bit more on the serious side. It just depends on, kind of how you look at it. But the first one I like to ask is, describe your personality in one of the following: Grounded, Mariah Carey, or Kanye West.
Oh my. What was the first one?
Grounded,
Rounded?
ground, yeah, like feet on the
Ground.
ground, everything, yeah.
Oh, I would probably say grounded. I don't think I'm much of a Kanye type.
And I don't see you being a diva like Mariah Carey. So
Yeah.
this is another one it's kind of funny. But if you could take a bath in anything, what would it be?
Ice cream.
I don't see Texans getting that cold.
Oh
I
man,
mean,
I would just eat it all.
yeah, there you go. You
It
don't have
wouldn't
to
last
drain it
long.
that way. You just eat it.
That's right.
All right. Somebody writes a documentary about your life. Who is going to play you in that documentary, and why?
Oh man, another thought-provoking question. Maybe Chris Pratt.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about. Do you know who Chris Pratt is?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him, but I just feel like he would play a good me. I don't know. He's funny, and I've seen some of his like behind the scenes, outtakes and stuff of his shows and movies, and he just seems like he'd be. We would get along, Chris Pratt and I.
There you go. Yeah. And I love the responses to that question, because people are kind of that way. They're like, well, let's see here. I want to make sure I've got one that's a little high up here. I need to move it down on my list a little bit. And this is a really thought-provoking question too. You are going out on a stadium tour as a headliner, like a Garth Brooks, Kenny Chesney type stadium tour.
All right.
And you get to personally invite your support acts, your opener and your support. Who are those two acts going to be?
Man, you're coming with some tough ones right now, George. Hypothetically speaking, if I am on top of the world, I would probably bring Kenny. I'm a big Kenny fan, even since I was a young kid. I think he's got great songs, and he's just seems like a lot of fun. Actually, my wife and I are going to go see Kenny whenever he comes to Dallas.
Good deal.
And she's seen him before, and I haven't, so I'm really excited to go see him. So I'd probably bring Kenny. And I would probably say Cody Johnson because he is an outstanding performer.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And if you haven't seen his show, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Those might be my top 2 at the moment.
Okay.
I will say
right.
from a talent perspective, Lady Antebellum or Lady A nowadays are phenomenal in concert as well. I saw them in high school and they are just great. So I don't know. I'm like, I feel like there's 2 aspects, and this may come as a like no-brainer to people, but you have to put on a show and you have to sing well. And believe it or not, there's a lot of artists out there that don't know how to do either.
Right.
In a live setting is way different than being in a studio. And boy, it shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've seen 2 of the acts that you talked about. I've seen Kenny, I've seen Cody Johnson. We have seen Lady A, but it's been in more of an intimate setting because it was during country radio seminar.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit more intimate where they did, was it their first single? Was it I Need You Now?
That was their big one. They also had I Run to You.
Right.
I think that's what it's called. I run.
Yeah. And that wasn't the one. I don't think that's the one they did, but we were in Nashville about 4 weeks ago for country radio seminar.
Okay.
Lady A was there. And we were at a lunch and they were performing and they did one of their songs in like an acoustic, just a piano.
Awesome.
Man, it was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. I talked to people who said they were crying watching that.
Wow. Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And Kenny puts on a great show. Cody, he's just so fired up every time he gets on stage. You know, he is he's like our daughter has a corgi, and that little thing's got so much energy to be such a small dog. Well, you know, and I'm just like, he reminded me of her. He's just like everywhere. So great shows there.
Next time I see Cody, I'm gonna tell him that he reminds you of a corgi.
He will never talk to me again. I think he came to our town and I did not get to interview him. I tried to, and I never got the interview, which, you know, kind of hurt my feelings, but I know that wasn't on him. If I was to look at your phone, and this is on the assumption that you have an iPhone, I don't know why that is. I call it an iPhone top 10. But if I were to look at your phone, what's the top 10 songs or artists, whichever is easier for you, that you've been listening to lately?
A top 10. Wow. I would definitely throw in all of my influences. So George and Brooks and Dunn and Alan, Brad Paisley, what's that for? Randy Travis for sure. And then on the new side, probably Cody, Randall, King. Let's see. These last few are going to be the tricky ones.
Yeah.
Did I already say Brad Paisley? I'd probably do Brad Paisley and Kenny, Tim. So there's 9. And I'll throw Randy Rogers in there too. I like to roll down the windows and listen to some Randy Rogers every so often.
Right.
I do a lot of podcast listening.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, especially whenever I'm on the road, because it just, man, it makes the time go by so much faster when you're driving 3 or 4 hours.
Right. Well, maybe if I should ask it that way. What are, the top podcasts you're listening to? Maybe I need to change that up because that's kind of more interesting than just the songs. Because so many people listen to them nowadays. That's what the cool thing. Let's see here. get back down here to with talking about the songs and the artists and stuff. What's one song that's been stuck in your head recently?
I was singing one the other night. I can't remember what it was, but gosh, probably one of the new covers we've been playing. So it's "Wrapped Around" by Brad Paisley, "Write This Down" by George Strait, and "My Next Broken Heart" by Brooks and Dunn.
Oh wow!
I've been spending a lot of time listening to those songs, so trying to make sure I get my words right and don't screw them up on stage.
Right.
So
Oh yeah. Hey, with those guys, you want to be spot on.
that's
You know?
right. That's right.
Brad's about to go back out on tour, so you could probably catch him and make sure you got him all right when he does it live. Uh, he's probably the I'm gonna just kind of go off course here for a minute, but he's probably the funnest artist I have ever been around.
Gotcha.
We actually had an opportunity to get up on stage for basically the entire show a few years back, and I had a portable charger in my pocket so I could charge my phone, and I had it plugged in, and I had a cord, and he walked over and he grabs it and he goes, "What's this for?" And I said, "It's for my phone." And he goes, "Oh, I thought you were going to like start singing or something." And I'm like, "No, you don't want that. You got a good crowd. I don't want to run them off. Trust me." And we just had a blast with that. It was just kind of like in a break of a song and that kind of thing. But that was an awesome show. He had Cam with him, and of course they did Whiskey Lullaby, and it's
Awesome.
just, oh my gosh, one of my favorite songs. Huge Keith Whitley fan. I got to say
All
that.
right.
Yeah. Instead of a last meal, you're given a last song. I'm stuck on this song thing for whatever reason, but what would your last song be?
If it's not The Chair, um, what would it be? That's another great question, George. Maybe something by Josh Turner. So like, "Would You Go With Me?" Or um, he's got some other great songs like
Yeah.
oh "Everything Is Fine." Uh, he's got a song called "The Answer," which is a really good song. I'd probably say a Josh Turner song. I mean, it just so his voice is just like so soothing,
Oh yeah.
and he sings so well. So, and he puts on a great show too. I will say we opened for him.
Oh.
I think it was gosh, when was it? Maybe summertime of this past year.
Mhm.
Got to open for Josh, which is really cool because that's kind of how I got my start. Was singing the Josh Turner song. So, and he puts on a great show. Lots of fun.
Yeah. I think I saw him at the rodeo. I've seen so many artists out there. I've lost track of who all I've seen. I saw Cody there. As a matter of fact, I've seen Cody twice. I forgot about
Okay.
that. I thought I hadn't seen him once, but I've seen him twice. Let me see here. Okay, we're at a party, and you get to DJ the party. What's your first song gonna be?
Does it have to be country?
No, not at all.
"Party in the USA," Miley Cyrus.
There you go. Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Okay, so the last one's kind of a serious question, and it would be If some, and it kind of connects to the one I asked you earlier about giving your own self advice, but what advice would you give to somebody trying, like a 17-year-old boy comes up to you and says, man, I love what you're doing. And I do kind of some music and stuff, and I'd really like to get into it more. What kind of advice would you give him as a kind of a mentor, saying, whatever to him to, you know, let him know what it's like in the music industry or what to expect, some along those lines.
Yeah, I would honestly, I would go back to nobody works harder for you than you, or
Mhm.
nobody will work harder for you than you. So to me, I mean, really and truly, that quote is something that I have always, like literally every day, I think about that.
Right,
Uh, because nobody's going to do it. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it. And that's
right.
very, very true. Being an independent artist and trying to get going, I mean, you have to work really hard and you have to learn a lot of stuff and you have to be willing to learn. And take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, you're going to have people that discourage you. You're going to have people that encourage you. You're going to have people that blow smoke up your butt, that
Mhm.
say they can do this for you, say they can do that for you. And the reality is that's just not true. Um,
Right.
and I've had some people do that in my case. And you sit around and wait for that kind of stuff to happen. And then you're like, when it doesn't happen, you're like, well, what is this? They told me they were going to do that. And it's you're the person, you're the catalyst, so you have to go out there and do everything, learn how to do your own graphic design, learn how to do accounting, learn how to uh, put together a fun, compelling, entertaining show, and
Mhm.
learn how to work well with others. I mean, it's very, very uh, challenging to put in the time and put in the work and be patient enough to see the fruits of your labor, because it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that happens even in a few years. I mean, you always hear about all these artists that have been doing it for 10 years and they're finally getting their little bit of recognition. um, So if there's anybody out there watching or listening that wants to play music for a living, my advice to you is to work harder than anybody else. And if you can do that and keep a level head, then you will be successful.
Right. That quote there uh, could be used in two other ways. I mean, it seems like a lot of people nowadays, um, they tattoo stuff on their bodies. And that would be a good tattoo for the forearm where you look at it all the time. Nobody works harder for you than you, or you could, put it up on a wall and look at it every day in an office or something like that. That's just one of those pieces of advice that are so spot on that it's worthy of that kind of a, I guess, display for a person.
It really is, and it applies to so much more than just music. I mean, in
Oh yeah,
anything that you want to do, whatever goals you have, the only person that can make those goals happen, and those dreams come true, is the person looking at you in the mirror. I
exactly.
mean, there's nobody else that's going to give you something or make something happen for you. It's you, and the sooner you realize that as a young man or a young woman, specifically in this industry, but across everything you do in life, the younger you can figure that, or the sooner you can figure that out, the better off you are. And if you can have a strong work ethic and apply yourself, then you have a pretty good chance.
Right. Absolutely. And one of the things that I always think about, because music is a business. It's not, I mean, and some people do it for a hobby, but if you're looking to do it all the time, it's a business, and you have to treat it as a business, and you have to know, like you were talking about earlier, you got to know accounting. You have to understand social media, which drives me nuts. But nowadays, social media, if you don't have it, then you're nobody. You have to
Yeah, I
have.
mean, it's one of those pieces of the puzzle that's very important, and
Mhm.
it's not always fun. Social media, in my opinion, sucks. I hate doing
Yeah,
social media stuff, but you have to, and if you don't, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. So
absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
important.
and
All that stuff is
and
important.
yeah, and I mean, it's I have to do that, as in a business, and with the podcast and all that stuff. And you're right, social media is my downfall. If it wasn't for my lovely wife, I'd be in so much trouble. she's, she's the social media guru in the family. She does a lot of it with her business, and she understands it, and she coaches me on it. I have to do it myself, which I don't like, but I don't want to pay somebody else to do it, because quite honestly, I'm a tightwad. But so where are folks able to find your music?
Right here, WynnWilliamsMusic.com. Can they see that I'm pointing at
Yep.
that? WynnWilliamsMusic.com. Anywhere you buy or stream music, you can go search Wynn Williams, and you'll find some of my music. I'm encouraging a lot of people these days to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube, because
Okay.
we have a lot more stuff coming out video wise, with the release of all these new songs. And
Okay.
you can see the Win video, the song that we played, halfway through this podcast. Go check that out. And then I also have another really cool platform, where I can actually text people directly now, and people can text me. So my number is 817-241-5452. And they just follow the prompts on there and add themselves to my contact list. And it comes right to my phone. People text me all the time on here, and I'm able to just text right back.
Awesome.
It's also really cool because I can pinpoint an area. Like if I'm coming to San Antonio, I can shoot out a text message to all the people that are, part of my contact list in San Antonio. And I can say, hey, we're coming on this date or whatever. And I can send out the video, or it's just a really neat tool. And it's a way to connect to people on a little bit more of a daily basis than, just trying to do the social media thing. So I really enjoy that. After all my shows, I'm out at the merch booth, meeting people and talking to people and connecting with folks, one-on-one. So it's something that I really enjoy doing. And this texting thing has now given me another opportunity to do that.
Right. And you're one of the few artists that I know that does that, especially as independents. I know there's others like Spencer Crandall does it, Restless Road, but the thing with them is it's all automated. There's no, somebody else is pushing the buttons, I believe, because you can't really respond back. And I like that personal touch to it as well. And quite honestly, I'm going to talk to you some more about that when we get off the air, because that's a really cool idea, and I love that. So you can go to the website, which is WynnWilliamsMusic.com. Go check him out. Check out the latest, like the Wynn. Go to the YouTube channel and check out the video. Social media, you're on all that.
I'm on all that. I'm not great at all of it, but I'm on all of it.
I understand. I know if you look at my TikTok page, it's pitiful.
Yeah, TikTok is, it's so brand new, and I
Yeah.
resisted it for so long. But it's a useful tool, and got to do it.
The algorithm on that, I have yet to figure out. My wife and I were having this discussion the other night, because they've got a new thing. According to TikTok, 7 seconds is your optimal time to get somebody on there. Well, yeah, I can't do anything in 7 seconds. I can't put
Right.
up a clip of somebody in 7 seconds or any of that stuff. So,
Yeah.
they just need to realign that one.
Yeah,
I
for
don't know how
sure.
they do that, but fix it, TikTok. Just fix it. Give me more time. But Wynn, it's been great to have you on tonight, man. I really enjoyed talking to you and just finding out more about you and your music. I mean, I can't say enough about the music. So if I'm considered I won't even say an expert in music, but semi knowledgeable about music, and people believe what I say, then by all means go give Wynn a listen, because you are not, I mean, you're going to walk away going, wow, he's just everything was just so good.
Well, thank
you know
you. I appreciate the kind words.
You're welcome. Coming up Monday night, we're going to have a band called Hudson Valley on. So be sure to tune in on Monday night. Every Monday and Thursday is, before Nashville. You can check us out on all the social media. No, it's not updated, so I apologize for that, like it ought to be. But when you're running life from 5 different angles, it's kind of hard. Somebody's got to, slack, or somebody's got to be the one to be left out. I'll go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And anytime we have somebody coming on, you'll get the notification that they're going to be on. And then you'll get the notification on Monday or Thursday that they're coming on. So be sure to subscribe, hit that little bell to get the notifications for all that stuff on our YouTube channel as well. We're on all the platforms. I can't even list them. I mean, we're on so many. We're on about 14 platforms now, I think. So wherever you get your podcast, you can check us out. So you guys take care. We'll see you back here on Thursday night. And until then, have a good evening. And Wynn, you, my friend, take care.
All right. Thank you.